Hello everybody, I gotta shut down the UNSC live meeting. That's their meeting live right now. Sorry, 1 second. There it is. I'll go back to it. USA, China, Russia, UK, and France have all delivered. They've all delivered their topics of discussion. Brought forward. Oh, somebody's saying something. You're currently what? Well, I'm gonna ignore that. Sorry, everybody. Wait for people to log on anyway. But yeah, not good. Oh, I have to block people here. Okay, everybody. Sorry. I should turn off notifications too. Now watch, the phone's gonna be ring, 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 ring. I don't want that. I want to disclose what's happened today. You guys, it's what I kind of figured. I knew as soon as they turned this annual live debate into absolutely all about the internal workings of the Security Council, and they brought forward penmanship for this specific meeting, I knew we were in trouble because, folks, there's no winning 3 out of 5 members when two of which are guilty throughout the world of the same atrocious genocide. Worse than that, people, the current makeup of the Security Council today, brought up by both Russia and China today, while they're forbidden from discussing, as were all Security Council members, even the 10 rotating. But the 3 holders of the pen today, USA, Russia, UK, got consensus. And I'm going to tell you, folks, this meeting was to start 6:30 a.m. Alberta time. It was to start absolutely 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, and at the same time as New York. There was a massive kerfluffle. Notes on the table, $4.99, didn't even come up, folks. It was shot down. They even relaunched a new meeting with a new video, scrapping the other one. They had it up, and then they turfed it for over close to almost 2 hours. 2 hours. So there was a battle. There was a battle between Russia and China, UK, France, and USA over the topics discussed of the genocide here in Canada, the investigation per S-217-507. Folks, if you read those notes and you go through the history of the UNSC and the presidency and what's been delivered, debated on, brought up publicly for the entire world, you'd be like me and you'd know that it was all in relation to non-Security Council members and their troop contributions, their police contributions to peacekeeping missions throughout the world. As you all heard, none of that was even discussed. What was the only topic allowed was to discuss a limited Ukraine, Libya, tiny Serbia, none of the other issues on the roster, and absolutely nothing to do with peacekeeping countries like Canada and their outstanding genocides. And here's the thing, folks, this is huge. It's huge. China and Russia wanted it. They both clearly stated, and I have it recorded. I recorded everybody. I recorded them all on separate video. I'm going to chop it up because I didn't know what they're going to say and when they're going to speak it. I just knew it was going to be public. Russia rats them out, says we can't even bring up the secret parts of the meeting or the regions involved, which is Canada, folks. For my residential school genocide team, I know folks out in the public don't understand, but I told them that we can't just go out to all the nations of the world in the General Assembly and go through genocide that way. Genocide, as stated by France, who did shoot us down here, they went with USA and UK. They delivered the penmanship, which overrides everybody secretly. That was the 2-hour delay. They didn't want to look at 5:07 and what I brought forward that would have been shared by Russia and China. They clearly stated they did. They weren't allowed to tell you what it was about, but you can see all my email, folks. That's what it was about. UK, France did not want any of that going forward. They would never want that because they have this atrocity attached to all their Commonwealth countries, all those countries, still jewels underneath them. If you watch my residential school genocide videos, you'll find out there are literally hundreds of regions, literally dozens of countries still under their thumb. And their constitutions, as stated by both Russia and China in this debate, they couldn't say it specifically, but they said there are countries who have other countries designed exactly like them, and it forces them to do whatever they want to do. It overrides the entirety of the Security Council. And let me give an example of this, which the team saw today, and we were discussing it as I was recording. Folks, Ireland unable to distinguish themselves from the United Kingdom. It's why I didn't go to the UN elders of Ireland, even though Ireland has the presidency. Nelson Mandela would be rolling over and over in his grave right now today as Ireland puked out their position, which is that of the United Kingdom. Irish citizens would be pissed if they were involved in what they heard today. But what can I do? And folks, residential school genocide team, we can't go to the General Assembly of Nations. If you do, the threat was made live for all of you in relation to my email and to all First Peoples. I built this reporting system to protect you, because if you ever, regardless of France and UK and how they are, if you ever go against the Security Council, specifically the UN Charter, Section 8, that's all regions in this world, all peoples of this world that are seeking self-determination, self-government, and the rest of it. If you ever go against the UNSC P5, if they ever veto you, it's game over for you. And then welcome back to colonial Canada forever. Now, I've brought you forward. That was done, sponsored by China. Reports went in this year. Do not lose heart. South Africa, Nelson Mandela never lost heart. He rotted in prison for more years than anyone ever should for absolutely just being a black nigger, according to those countries. A nigger. Not my words. Their legal terminology, and specific to South Africa. Absolutely forever and a day in apartheid. And that man, that beautiful, brilliant man, never gave up, and he kept going each and every day, no matter what. It took more years, so many years, and likely as I go gray in the last 5 years, I have decades of work. It's why it's so important, Jonathan, you take this over with the group. I want you to take the intellectual property. I need to focus on the UNSC. There are 5 debates, folks, 5 debates coming in July now. We're going to see that publication. I'm going to be ready for it. I've been watching the UNSC recording their live dates. I know all of them. There's 5 now disclosed nicely by Russia and absolutely China today, and Ecuador. They went through it to articulate that. That's for people like me who follow so intently. And I don't know anybody else that's ever followed them as so closely as I have over the last 5 years. And of course, I did that in the name of independence for an Alberta country. Should they go for independence, you needed to understand the world system, the executive of the world order. And they shared and shone a lot today, a lot. China, Russia both reiterated they couldn't do anything. France not willing to, but they did say, and for all people like myself and people who send emails like myself, who know the whole system, who can report and hide now behind China. And yes, I'm hiding behind China in the face of Canada. There's nothing Canada can do about it. There's no RCMP coming for me. There's nothing the filthy Liberals, Conservatives, and NDP can ever do about it. Now, people talking about me getting arrested over this stuff, good luck. Canada does that, and they're going to have another Nelson Mandela incident on their hands. And honestly, folks, Canada can't take anymore. There is only so much the UK or France, for that matter, can do, but largely it's led by UK over Canada. France has very, very limited ability over Canada. Now, their ties to Quebec do overlap a lot of the work I do, not for the First Peoples, but in some respects, some of what the First Peoples want to see done does overlap Quebec, and that's something France can't go against. So we're not dead in the water. Also, Republicans from the Republican Party, once restored to the presidency of the United States, I do believe that if we can convince enough governors in the United States of America, which are majority for Republicans, if we get enough of them to put pressure on the next federal government led by a Republican presidency, we can win this. We can win this and get the penmanship once again, just like Richard Nixon did absolutely with Russia and China. He did do it, folks. He did do it, and he did it for all the right reasons. He even implemented decolonization. Now, Democrats are not down with that, and I'm sorry, folks, for all those who champion the African American and the rights for African Americans, which is great, in civil rights. You'll find historically it was the Democrats who implemented and institutionalized slavery. That was all done largely through Democrats. I'm not saying there aren't Republicans who got on board with that in history too, but you'll watch the shifts. And Canadian Indians, First Peoples, Treaty Indians, unceded Métis Inuit, Republicans transformed everything that Canada incorporates now, starting in the early 20s. You can go back, and in 33, what they were doing in monumental civil rights, through the 50s, what they've implemented for American Indians, going on and on and on. There hasn't been any American Indian wars since 1924. 100% absolutely abolished and ended by the Republican presidencies of the United States. Canada, we're still in Indian wars. Cascadia, which is largely British Columbia, unceded lands, which are all of Greater Vancouver, most of British Columbia. We call that massive area Cascadia. You go over to Caledonia and Ontario, all the same scenario. Yes, Six Nations and others in that area. You go into Quebec City and it's unbelievable. No secret that Pope Francis picked all three of his destinations in Canada, overlapping all of that with UK and France. He knew what was happening. USA, under the Democrats, made sure to strengthen the Pope's position. He announced the July coming to Canada. I knew we were in trouble. My gut of guts told me Russia and China attempted, and in the best words they could formulate possible, they released that to everybody today without saying it, because they're not allowed to. No UN member of the council, rotating or permanent, was able to discuss any of this today. It was removed through penmanship. Three permanents, and that's USA, UK, France, led absolutely by UK. The Democrats chose to back up UK. No rhyme or reason to, folks, only because the Democrats are down with the crown. Russia and France told everybody this. I made some notes to make sure I wouldn't miss a couple key items. The Section 8 is huge. France basically threatened myself and all First Peoples, whether you know that or not. They threatened you. Never breach Section 8. Don't go running out to rat out to the General Assembly. There is a group, and there is Sharon Vane coming in July. She's one of the most famous General Assembly and UN First Nations people who's gone forward with the UN. She's highly educated. She's in her 70s. I'm going to meet with her yet in July, and I'm going to go over this stuff, and I'm going to make sure she understands Section 8, and I hope there's no serious attachment to the Crown. We've got to keep going forward, residential school team, all those we bring on. We never violate Section or Chapter 8 of the UN Charter. Never. Never. We were threatened by France today. Don't do it, no matter what. Canada tries to trick First Peoples in this all the time, but I will continue in every single UNSC meeting. I'm going back to that full time. I'm going back to academia full time. I'm moving to Florida for a specific reason, and I've always stated this. It's been in small circles. My former girlfriend knew why I was doing it, and it's not only to tour all the American Indian reservations, but it's also to tour every American state and to speak with every governor. It may take me a decade of my life. I'm not getting any younger. If I don't do this now, nobody's ever going to do it, and it has to be done. It is for all Canadians. It is for all First Peoples. There's no other example out there, and we need to win the Republicans. We can't win the Democrats, at least not under Joe Biden. There was nothing there from USA except for more on gender. Gender was not the topic of 507. Anyone who reads that's going to know it was pretty much a wasted meeting. I think it has a lot to do with my email and my presented resolution to USA and Russia. And sadly, obviously supported through penmanship by Russia and China, who call for a change to say only 2 can make penmanship. But of course, with 5 UNSC members, whose penmanship are you going to grant? If UK and France go on 1, Russia and China, you always have to have 3 out of 5, so you have a majority. And I can see them saying, well, we have a 15-member rotating council, but we'll only let 2 or 3. Well, who decides that? So, we just have to win USA. We've got to get USA back on board. And I can't win Democrats, folks. I'm not going to. And it's not failure. This isn't failure. This is just reality of how the world as it really is. Nobody can change it. You just got to work with it. And you've got to take these times and these seemingly losses. But they're wise to it. They're wise to it. And, the rest of the general or the UNSC rotating members have no idea. Another statement USA said that they took from me, and anyone going on my Facebook last week, I made a post, not very popular, but I told everybody, and I told all Canadians, all Canadian politicians, all regional politicians, all chiefs, all presidents of Métis, all the First Peoples, all Canadians, I told you this. Those 5 members see everything and everything reported, meaning my reports. I published that email for Canadians, but you haven't even seen the half of it. I have more that I'm going to release now. And but I have to have some permission from First Peoples. But that report from Sidney Lee Hellcrow is sitting with all of them. All of them. Canada doesn't have that report. They might if Sydney gave it to him, but the UNSC permanent members all have it. They keep that stuff forever. And like USA said, backing up my post a week ago, we, the 5, see everything for 76 straight years. We keep all of it. All of it. Just as I said, Canada has only seen 1/10 of it, and only upwards of until 30 years ago, their last UNSC sitting seat, rotating. They haven't had one forever and a day. Harper got us tossed. Trudeau will never get us back. He was thrown out on his ass. And now we face certain veto forever and a day. Russia and China tried to tell you all this today. They can't publish because they didn't have the pen. They didn't win consensus. But they said enough to let you know. This is the work I do. This is the work I've been doing for 5 years of my life. And people want to laugh. People want to laugh. Go ahead and laugh. Canada, Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh are all laughing right now. But they all laughed in South Africa too. They laughed for a good 14 to 21 years, depending on how you look at it. But in the end, all the bullshit caught up with them. And one day, maybe soon, we might have an entirely new presidency. We might have a Republican regime that understands all of this work, and understands absolutely presidents of the past and why they did it. And they might turn over penmanship and go with Russia and China on some of these shared files they can get behind, especially if there's a reward for America first or Russia first. They may very well share the penmanship one more time on a file, just like this one. There's many ways to skin a cat. I have much work to do. I knew this was never going to be easy. We had a monumental success a year ago. That can't be erased. That's there forever. And we can always go underneath China forever and a day. Ambassador Zhang Jun was there. He educated all of us today, as did Russia and their representative. They did, underneath Vasily and Dmitry. And you know what? They shared the knowledge that we needed to hear. France even stepped out and shared. It's a threat, but at least they shared monumental information you need to know. And that must be cemented going forward. We always have to educate all chiefs, and we're going to keep that recording from France. We're going to keep it. We're always going to utilize that, as this was in 2022's annual meeting. So for all chiefs, all Métis presidents, all Inuit chiefs in council and Arctic Council overlap, you have to respect the 5, even though 2 of them haven't been any good to you at all. The threat was made. That's real. That's the UN Charter. And don't go with the Canadian narrative, and don't go with General Assembly behind their backs or in their face, or you're going to get vetoed. You're going to get vetoed and shot down, and then you will never see any justice or any change in Canada ever. You've got to stay the course. We've all got to stay the course. It is for all Canadians and all First Peoples. You want to change your country, you want to do right by your people, this is how we do it, whether we like it or not. This is the truth. This is the truth. Thanks, everybody. That's my video. Hopefully it gets shared. I think I'm going to go ahead and share this in groups. I haven't shared for a long time. Facebook will punish me for it, but who cares? And I'm going to do something on Twitter as well, too. And I'm going to email chiefs, and when I break down the video, this is going to take me a couple weeks. It's a lot of work, and the video's still going on. I'm going to have to watch the other remaining hours left of the council meeting if it isn't done already. But a lot of learning, a lot of education today. A lot that I talk about was backed up today, and I think at least for a residential school genocide team, it's almost like I know the council exactly what they're going to do, because the things I say pop. 10 minutes later, you get a rep reinforcing exactly what I just said, and I'm glad they stated Chapter 8. That's important. Bye, everybody. Don't lose heart. We haven't lost anything. Monumental was achieved last year. Lots was talked about today. We learned about the penmanship, something I didn't even see coming. Canada beat us. Trudeau beat us this time around with UK, USA, and France. Trudeau's laughing. And honestly, Pierre Poilievre's laughing. Jagmeet Singh's laughing. You know what? Maxime Bernier would be laughing too. If anyone thinks he's your friend, he's not. They have no intentions of ever giving the power to any peoples, let alone the First Peoples or the slave working third-class Canadian. They don't want you to have any of it, folks. Lots of ways to skin a cat here. We're not done by a mile. And it's cementing these things and educating all going forward. God bless everybody. Have a good day. And yes, Gary, more power to use the battle, but don't lose the war. We don't stop. There'll always be more battles. This is going to go on for years, and it may be the rest of my life at this. I don't know. But you just don't stop. You don't quit. And I hope people don't quit following. People, Canadians, always think that everything's solved in a day. It hasn't been solved since 1867. Guys, that's more than 150 years. And then there's 150 years of shit history before that. It ain't going to be solved in a day or one event. These are just little milestones, little steps. Next month, when we see the publication of July, I might find myself in a major win. We don't know. We just keep going forward. God bless everybody. Share, get it out there. I will be later too. Bye now.